The following statements you are about to hear are not made to offend or hurt anybody's feelings, although we may discuss serious topics. It's all entertainment, man. In all reality, don't take this shit too serious. Have fun, laugh a little bit, relax. Let's talk about it. Shades Talk.
Let's talk about it. Gervonta Tank Davis. And I'm a big fan of his. I love the way he fights. He's been fighting since I think he said about 7 years old. One of the top talents in the sport at his weight class, could probably jump up one weight class and take that belt too, in my personal opinion. The biggest knock on Gervonta for me is that, and he's actually pretty smart for doing it, but he's not fighting all the best competition at their best. So, this hydration clause, whether got my facts straight or not, but I believe he has a hydration clause in there that the fighters that he fights can only rehydrate to a certain percent. Now, he's held to that same standard. Here's where the little diabolical technique comes in with him. He's a smaller guy, so whatever weight class he's fighting at, he's potentially going to be at that weight walking around. Maybe he might walk about 10 pounds heavier than normal. Most guys that fight, whether it's boxing or MMA, they walk around 20 to 30 pounds heavier than they would on their fight night. So, for instance, John Jones, MMA 205-pound champion of the world for the UFC, or previous champion at 205 for the UFC, he probably walked around about 220, 230, and he fought about 205. And that's a normal thing for guys to do because they want the edge. So everybody in the sport is usually a lot heavier than they are than their fighting weight. That's not the issue, is that once you make weight, you're so dehydrated and malnourished that you're normally not going to be at your best to fight the fight at that current weight or whatever your current situation is. So what they do is they get some water in their system, eat some fruit, food or whatnot, and they rehydrate and they get healthier, and it makes them stronger, faster, or back to their normal selves, or closer to their normal selves that they were before they were cut weight. Gervonta doesn't have to do that. He doesn't necessarily have to go back and put a bunch of water in his system because he was never super dehydrated to begin with. So when you don't have water in your brain, you get flash knocked out. And a lot of these guys are fighting at minimum. So I would say they're probably about 60% of their regular selves, where he is probably closer to 80 to 90% of his normal self and his punching power. Now, it's a fight game. Hit, don't get hit. So I would never knock anybody for using their business acumen, become successful at what they're doing. And he also, is under the Floyd Mayweather umbrella, and I'm sure Floyd has taught him some things about the fight game. And Floyd was a businessman / fighter when he was fighting, and still is. So he's not ever going to put himself at a detriment. But with that said, as a fan of the fight game, I would like to see the best fights possible at their best. Is that what's happening in this case? I don't think his opponents are always at their best or even close to being their best. And I don't think he necessarily has to handicap them in order to beat them. He could probably still knock them out in the same fashion because I believe he is that good, but I would like to see him fight somebody. I saw what happened when he fought Isaac Pitbull Cruz, and Isaac Pitbull Cruz is a similar guy, close to his size and height, and doesn't have to cut a lot of weight to make that weight class that he's at. And that fight went all 10 rounds. And if you notice, the punching power and the snap didn't affect him as much as it did the other opponents. You know what I'm saying? Just say his most recent opponent, Frank Martin, which who got knocked out, and Frank was severely dehydrated. Now, I don't think Frank Martin is a better fighter than Gervonta Davis by any means necessary, but I do feel like he would have put up more of a competitive fight if he wasn't so dehydrated. Nonetheless, they signed a contract to fight the guy, and that's what they agreed upon. So it's no knock on the contractual agreement. It is what it is. But just as a fight fan, for what I would want to see, I want to see the best fights possible and the guys be healthy while doing it. Is it ever going to happen? I don't know. But Tank, you talented dude. You probably go down as one of the greatest in that weight class. And I feel like you could beat these guys anyway. But let's make it competitive. I don't think you need to handicap anybody in order to beat them. I don't know. You tell me.